I get sick of people saying to me, we just get Aussies over here and they're taking our British players spots in our squads.
Yeah.
We'll grow up and try and be better than them. If you're better than them, then they won't be bringing them to take your spot. So.
Yeah. Hello everyone and welcome back to the NRL Insight UK podcast, your weekly fix of rugby league from both sides of the world. With me, your host Dan Lee, and joining me once again, NRL Insight UK specialist, we'll call you this week, Paul Cooke. How you doing, Paul?
Yeah, good, Dan. Thank you. Really good.
Busy week?
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, some things to sort out where I am. So yeah, I've been busy this week. Looking forward to the NRL this weekend and this week, and obviously the Super League games coming up. Yeah,
definitely. We're going to change it a little bit this week. We normally dissect going through each result from the NRL and the Super League. So this week we've changed it up. We're going to do predictions instead. So we're going to do NRL news, Super League news, split it in the middle with Question Cookie, where we put him back in the hot seat. And we've got a couple of questions from fans as well this week that we'll be asking Paul. And then we'll go through our selections and predictions for the NRL and Super League. So let's get straight into it. We're going to start with the NRL news. NRL news this week then. Big story. We did call it a few weeks ago. Joey Manu now confirmed as a chief. He signed a 2-year deal, reportedly $700K per season. Massive signing. What are your thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, they are Premiership ready. They've gone from top 8 to top 4. Now they're Premiership ready. Yeah, another fantastic signing for the Chiefs. Willie Peters is going to have a dream squad to work with over in Papua New Guinea. Joey Manu, the latest one. I like what they're doing, unveiling it, taking the names off the stairs and unveiling number 7, and then it'll be 8, 9 and 10 all the way up to 17, plus the rest of the squad. So, yeah, exciting times in 2028.
It is. Centre or fullback for you, where would you put him?
Yeah, it depends it depends who they sign. Brimson's just come off Gold Coast, his radar, hasn't he? So
yeah,
if they get Brimson, then you probably play him in the centre and put Brimson to fullback. But you can play him at fullback. You get his. I think the main thing is you want the ball in Joey Manu's hands. So at fullback, he probably gets to more of the football. So yeah, it'd be dangerous no matter where he plays.
Yeah, I agree. Before we move on from that story, do you think it'd have a detriment effect of him being over in Union for a period of time, or do you think he'll hit the ground running back into Rugby League straight away?
No, I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be fine. I think it's pretty easy when you've played both games, if that makes sense. It would have been harder for him to go over to Rugby Union. I think he did play Rugby Union before, so
yeah.
There's some really skillful players that play Union, particularly in our country in England. So I don't see it being an issue for Joey Manu. Just be take a little bit of time for him when, trying to slow rucks down rather than tackle roll away as it is in Union, and he's got to get back 10, whereas in Union, it's just the back foot. So, there'll be a little bit of muscle memory that he has to get back.
Yeah, I agree. Still, I think it's a massive signing for them, though. I know he's had time out the game, but you look at the back line now with obviously AJ, Brian Toto, Zach Lomax. It's just star-studded, isn't it? So, yeah, massive signing. Next piece of news that was in from the NRL over this last week, Jacob Preston has agreed a 4-year deal after being lowballed by the Canterbury Bulldogs. They've upped their offer, reportedly 4 years at $750 per season. They had to get this deal done, didn't they, the Dogs?
Yeah, he's been really good, hasn't he? And he's got that little bit of a combination with Lachlan Galvin. So, it's a really good line on the edge. He's been important for the Dogs. He'd been really consistent with his performances, and obviously the Dogs saw that and upped their offer very quickly to make sure he signed it.
Yeah, definitely. He's a massive player for the Dogs. 6 tries in his last 18 appearances, which doesn't sound prolific, but for a back rower who's hitting holes on either side, and you've seen the problems the Dogs have had this year. I just think he's a massive player defensively as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For him in with Kikau, and they look much more defensively sound with either edge looking after the halfback, them 2 back rowers. So, yeah, an important one for the Dogs to get over the line, because he has been a constant and consistent for them.
Yep, 100%. The Bears have been busy this week. They've finally got another couple of signs across the line. We did mention it last week about Big Red. It's now been confirmed. He's signed 3 years with the Perth Bears.
Yeah, a big signing for them. I think he probably needed a change from Canberra. I think, I don't think the relationship with Ricky's broken down. I just think that he probably needed a change. And I thought it was a little bit harsh when Ricky came out and basically blamed him for the loss the other week when he gets sin binned. He's got that in him, hasn't he? And he's got to get that out of him as quickly as possible. But he's a big signing for Perth, a huge signing for them. So yeah, I look forward to seeing him play again.
Well, he's a go-forward player, and he's a natural leader, isn't he? So there's a good chance that he could be named as captain. But following through the door, Zach Lipowicz, who's obviously on loan at Wakefield Trinity, is he on loan or is he permanent with Wakefield?
I think he's gone permanent from Catalan now till the end of the season, but he's obviously going back to Perth. So Yeah, Zach's played well at Catalan, and again another constant. Charlie Staines and him have been very good, I think, in a poor Catalan team. So another good signing for the Perth Bears.
Yeah, they're heading in the right direction finally. Next story, as you touched on before, AJ Brimson set to leave the Titans. Kind of come out of nowhere, this story.
Yeah.
He's basically been given permission to speak to other clubs, and like we've mentioned multiple times, the Chiefs are always going to be high up on the list. But I would imagine the Chiefs won't be the only ones that will be having a crack at AJ, will they?
No, I think he'll have plenty of suitors. I think he might have a pick of a few NRL clubs, and there'll be lots of Super League clubs that would be interested in him. But I don't particularly think he's going to come over to the Super League at the age he's at right now, when he's still got plenty of football in the NRL in him. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands. The Dogs maybe, but Perth are obviously going to be interested.
Yeah, because they were already linked with him, wasn't they, the Dogs? But the problem you've got is if you want him to play him as a fullback, you've got Connor Tracy, who's just signed a new 2-year deal, I think it is, with the Dogs. So I'm confused with what their plans are at the moment. There's just so much up in the air at the Dogs. But with the Chiefs, like we said just then, with Joey Manu potentially dropping in at fullback, he could then slot into that other vacant centre spot at the moment, and then that would just be terrifying.
Again, it's just another one where if he does end up at PNG, then it'd be interesting how Willie Peters how he sees the game to be played, if you like, under what he likes to play. So it'd be interesting whether AJ plays fullback, whether Manu plays fullback. But it'll be interesting to see where AJ Brimson lands. If it's not PNG in 2028, if he moves on now for 2027, very much like Luai, if you like, who's gone to the Eels, he could end up somewhere just for a gap year, if you like.
Yeah, definitely. The next piece of news, we've only got a couple more to go. Payne Haas, he's out of the World Cup, ruled himself out of the World Cup due to hand surgery. Obviously, he's representing Samoa at the moment, not Australia. There's two things, and I had my foot in both camps on this. So obviously the club pay players' salary, but it's an honour to represent your national team. Why has he not got the hand surgery earlier in the season so he's ready for the World Cup is the first question. But then on the other hand, it's, well, the club pays the wages, so you're playing for us. It doesn't matter about the World Cup. Where do you stand on that one? Not just for
I
paying
agree with
for
you.
anyone.
I think he should have had the surgery to play for Samoa. Particularly when Brisbane had been done for so long as well. As reigning Premiership winners, they've been way off. It's a huge drop off from them. But he's obviously announced he's leaving to go to South Sydney anyway. So maybe they just want to eke everything they can out of him before he leaves, and they pay his wages. So I can understand why he's having surgery to hit the ground running at South. But if you have the opportunity to represent your country in a World Cup, then they don't come around all too often. So I would have thought the surgery could have been done earlier.
No, I agree, and I'm sure people will share both sets of views. That's why I've given both views on that, because it's not just Payne Haas. That happens quite regularly in multiple sports. But sticking with the Broncos, on the final piece of news, Adam Reynolds announced his immediate retirement. I'll give you his stats before we go into him. 323 appearances, 57 tries, 1,169 successful goal kicks, and a total points count of 2,598, 2 premierships. Absolutely stellar player. But the Broncos have just not celebrated him whatsoever. It just seems like when I've been watching it unfold this week, there seems to be some sort of bad blood between whether it's club, manager, player, and then you're seeing the likes of Reece Walsh liking tweets about, bad-mouthing Madge, and it just seems a bit of a circus. I don't really know what's going on. But first of all, amazing career, Adam Reynolds. Second of all, hopefully they get it right next week when obviously it's his final game being part of the Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah, champion player. I'm fortunate enough to be friends with Shane Richardson, and Shane put a post on Facebook. He was CEO, obviously, at the Rabbitohs when they won the Premiership in 2015, was it? I think it was. Or 16, one of the two. And Adam Reynolds was integral in that. South Junior came through the South system. A champion player and a champion bloke by all accounts. So his stats aren't too bad. His career's one hell of a career, and I hope he enjoys his retirement from the game. I'm sure he'll land somewhere, Dan, as a coach of halves or attack, or from what I do understand about him, he's very, very, very knowledgeable about the game, and his rugby IQ is through the roof. So I'm pretty sure that he'll land somewhere as on a coaching staff coming soon.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, that wraps it up for this week's NRL news. We're going to get straight into the Super League news. This week's Super League news headed up by a huge story. Kevin Walters announced as St Helens coach, the current Kangaroos coach, heading over to the UK after the World Cup. What do you think about this one, Paul?
Yeah, massive, huge news. I well done to them for keeping it under wraps. I think when you do business and nobody finds out about it and it comes from left field, I think it's good business.
Yeah.
Obviously, the discussions have taken place. It's a huge deal for Kevin Walters. And rightly so, he's the current Kangaroos coach in the World Cup. And I think what's exciting for me, Dan, is what players he brings with him. He's already sounding players out. And from what I've read already, there's going to be some big changes at St Helens. And there needs to be, doesn't there? Because it looks very much likely that they're going to miss the 6 with 3 games to go. OKR are obviously going to Wigan this week, where they're going to send the kids team and then try and get the job done in the last 2 weeks, which I think is a good move, by the way. But huge news on the current Kangaroos coach coming over to coach in Super League.
It is 2 bits that you've just mentioned there about it being, well, it's lucrative, the deal. It's reportedly 330,000, I think that's Aussie dollars per season, that he's going to be getting paid, which is a hell of a lot of money. Obviously, I would imagine he's going to be the highest paid coach in the league. The other part was what, like you just said then, about the clear out. I think over these 3 remaining, and we'll touch on it later, I think over these 3 remaining fixtures now, you're going to see certain Saints players running through a brick wall because they've been put on notice. And it shouldn't take something, we've had this about multiple clubs, it shouldn't take this to happen for a player to start putting 110% in. And it's kind of a little bit too late. Like you just said, they're probably going to miss out on the 6 anyway. But yeah, he's already said, hasn't he, on his own podcast, Kevin Walters, that he's already approached certain players on potentially coming over. Obviously, no names that have been mentioned, but yeah, huge signing for Saints, and I back what you said about them keeping it under wraps, because generally stuff like this gets leaked, doesn't it? But huge. Next piece of news. Luciano Leilua signs for Catalan Dragons from the St. George Dragons, so he stays as a Dragon, just in a different country. Big signing.
Yeah, big boy. Big back rower on the edge, an handful. You throw in Jesse Arthurs if they play on the same edge, and
yeah,
they're gonna have some potent attackers next year. The Catalan Dragons. So another one as well he's not past his best, if you like.
No, he's not.
Where sometimes we get some Australians that are coming past the best, but I think he's still got plenty of good football in him. Luciano Leilua, still 30 years of age, and I'm sure he'll bring a lot to Super League and the Dragons.
I agree. Because obviously the Catalans have been off the mark this year, haven't they? They have struggled. I know they are mid-table, but they're just the top of the second table in a sense. They're nowhere near challenging for top six. But that signing, the two signs you just mentioned, Leilua and Jesse Arthur, is a step in the right direction for them. Move on to the next piece of news then. Amila Hanley and Hugo Savala called up to Brian McDermott's England performance squad. Amila Hanley been sensational this year for Lee Leopards, likewise for Hugo Savala. Obviously, there's been a bit of backlash online about Savala being called up due to him being Australian, but his mother is British. So the rules are the rules. It's been like that for years now. Do you think that it's a good decision to call him up to the squad?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a quality rugby league player and you can represent England or whichever country, then I don't see any issue with it. I know there's backlash over here as well with people saying that these guys are Australian. Well, we've seen multiple players represent the Kiwis and jump to Tonga or Samoa and or Australia and jump. So we had Kalen Ponga this year, who's jumped from Australia to New Zealand. So I don't see why we shouldn't take advantage of that. And I can see the backline being a full NRL backline in the World Cup with Brimson, Young, Smith, Savala, and Herbie Fineworth, the back five. So you throw George Williams in there with possibly Jake Connor or Harry Smith, and We've got some good players to pick from.
Very competitive.
I think Brian should pick from them. It's my opinion. It's
very, very competitive. If he went with that, for instance, that is a very competitive back line. I'm for it, and I always say if the person's not represented. I mean, Kalen Ponga's a bit different, but if the player for me has not represented an international side before and chooses to represent his parents' or grandparents' heritage, I'm all for that. And that's the case for Savala.
The only thing I will say on it, Dan, is I think at some point we've got to get to a place where you choose to represent the country you want to represent at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's at an age or, maybe adulthood. When you reach 18, you've got to make a choice on it.
Yeah.
Because I don't agree with jumping ships.
No, you shouldn't. No.
I think, once you choose a country, then just because another country pays more money or you're not going to get into that country's squad and you want to go to a World Cup, you decide to jump a ship. And I don't agree with that.
No, I don't. I'm all for it. But equally, when there is backlash of we'll use Savala as an example, that to me is saying, well, that's the benchmark. That's no guarantee that Savala's going to start. If there's been a player over here who is born in England, he is English, he's playing in the Super League, and he's playing at the same standard or above Savala, then he's earned his place.
Jake Wardle's an interesting one, isn't he? Because you've got Jake Wardle and Maya Hanley, who are probably the two form centres. So. It'd be interesting to see what Brian does. And I wouldn't try and predict what Brian's going to do because he's very left field anyway.
Yeah,
isn't he? So we'll see what he picks at the end of the year.
And to one final point on that as well, he's obviously got Paul Wellens and Sean O'Loughlin. I think it is the two people that's on his coaching staff for the World Cup. Sean O'Loughlin will be giving him reports, I would imagine, every week and an update on how the players over here are playing, so he'll have a full list of who to pick from. Next story, obviously broke. We heard about it a few weeks ago. Ryan Carr's Castleford exit has now been confirmed. Obviously, no more information's come out about it. I doubt it will come out. Who do you see succeeding him at the Tigers?
Well, there's a couple of names mentioned. Ian Watson doesn't look like he's going to end up with the Hull KR job. Obviously, Kayla's coming in there and he's an assistant. So Ian Watson could be a shout, or Paul Rowley. Who's recently out of work at St Helens. I know he's still on gardening leave at St Helens at the moment.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of decent coaches that have coached at Super League level for a long time or at Super League level and taken their respective teams to grand finals and Challenge Cup finals. So, there's a couple there. I wouldn't like to say it's a hell of a job, the cast job. Martin Jepson's doing a great job with some stuff off the field and trying to get the club to be more attractive to players coming in. But they've not had a great season on the field. But Ryan Carr's position was untenable once there's an investigation opened into him. But coaching's not easy. I feel for Ryan. It's emotional. It's tough, and he wanted the best. He's an emotional guy, and he leaves with probably a heavy heart, and it's not an easy job. So I wish him all the very best. I only met him a couple of times, but he wanted to succeed. That's for sure.
Yeah. A final point to back up on to Ryan Carr departing was obviously the 3 St George players that are obviously signed to come for 2027. Damien Cook's come out and said that it makes no difference whether he's there or not. He's coming one way or another, so that's obviously good for the Castle fans and club to hear. But Tyrell Sloan is a strange one, isn't it? Obviously, his comments after the game last week, and it's almost like he's coming just because he didn't have another offer in the NRL. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, that's what he basically said, and I don't agree with that. He could have said he was looking. I think Damien Cook will come. He's already said he's looking forward to coming. The Tyrell Sloan one's a difficult one because whilst he got no other offer from St George, he started playing some really good football and scoring lots of tries. So, if he doesn't remain as a Dragon in St George, then he could well pick up another NRL club with the form he's in. So, it'll be interesting to see how that one develops. Obviously, players do want to come and play for a coach. And when that coach departs, they don't quite know what's going to happen. But I think that by all accounts, the Castleford club has tried to reassure them that the contracts are still valid and they want them over here to help Castleford try and climb the Super League table next season, regardless of Ryan Carr not being the coach. So I think the players would want to know who the coach is going to be and maybe have a conversation. But by all accounts, it looks like Damien's coming anyway. And Tyrell Sloan is the one up in the air.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how that unfolds. To round out the Super League news this week, Johnny Lomax has announced his retirement. Absolute stellar performance for the Saints across 18 seasons, 388 appearances, 142 tries, 131 goal kicks, and total points 837 with a number of individual and team awards. Stellar player, same as what we said with Adam Reynolds. He's had an incredible career, Johnny Lomax, hasn't he?
Yeah, a champion player in Super League. I mean, you missed one stat. 19 operations he's had.
Yeah,
19 operations. I mean, how tough are players? And I don't like his chances of being able to walk in his 50s. But
no.
But what a player he's been, a leader on and off the field for the Saints. Almost 400 games there and top level games. And it'd be an interesting stat how many player of the matches he's got over his career because a champion player, and at one point he was the main man at Saints with regards performances and dragging his team through games. So congratulations to Johnny. I put a comment on X this week about him and, enjoy retirement. Another one, the same as Adam Reynolds, enjoy retirement and whatever's next.
Agree. Amazing player. And I think he'll probably stay in the Saints coaching team, you would imagine, wouldn't he? He's just part of the club. He's been there that long. But that wraps it up for the news this week in the Super League. Let's get straight into Question Cookie. This week's Question Cookie, then, it's quite salary and money heavy, this one. There's bits of salary cap questions and whatnot, so we're going to get straight into it. We'll go for the first question. How much do players generally know about transfer rumours involving their teammates, Paul?
Is
the news that is around the camp?
Rugby League's a small world. I think most people know everything. So yeah, you've got a rough idea of what other people are on at the club as well. So you hear a little bit of what players are being paid. So yeah, it's interesting the new rules that have just come out. I think they're going back to the old rules where you can't speak to a player, but it's irrelevant. Contracts are probably irrelevant. They're a myth, really.
Yeah.
If a club wants you bad enough, then they'll get you.
Yeah.
And the pay a transfer fee or throw a blank checkbook at you. So
Yeah.
there's not so many player transfers anymore, but players are aware of who's going where.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because like we'll take the Brisbane Broncos start of the season, for instance, Payne Haas. Do you think the club would have, or the players at training and in and around the club would have had an inkling that he's going to be going shortly?
Or they would have had an inkling that he wanted out.
Yeah.
Because there's been rumours at that club that players want out for the longevity of the careers, basically, but with the training regime. So
Yeah.
I think it's been it's been no secret that Madge is tough, and that Brisbane were ran into the ground in pre-season 1 and then again in pre-season 2. So
Yeah.
with all due respect, you can't keep running players and knocking them into the ground, because ultimately they will get fed up with it. You've got to come up with something different. And,
Yeah.
Madge's short-term gains are huge at clubs. There's no question about that. He turned them into premiership winners. And I think the Payne Haas transfer or the Payne Haas leaving the club going to South is an alarming wake-up call for the board of directors there at the board. So, watch that space, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we've kind of brushed over the second one as well, because the second question was, do players speak openly about salaries? And did they speak openly when you were playing?
Yeah, not particularly openly, but generally what players are on.
Yeah.
It was easy for me at Hull FC because there was a tiered system in terms of what, starting off a Super League newcomer or a first team newcomer, all the way up to being an international player, and you could only earn a certain amount if you was an international player.
Yeah.
So that was the system that Hull FC had, and I didn't have that system, and Wakefield didn't have that system. So you know roughly what players are on. You know roughly what your value is, I guess. So yeah, it depends what a club want to pay. Nobody's insurmountable, are they?
No.
You can only be paid what somebody wants to pay you.
Very true. We've got a couple of questions now from the comments section on last week's video. The first one, South Stander. Do you think the salary cap should be increased? It has been stuck on 2.1 million for 6 years, regardless of whether the NRL takes over or not.
Well, it's interesting because, yes, I do believe it needs increasing, but I do believe there needs to be stipulations on where the money's spent.
Yeah.
Because with all due respect, if you just increase the salary cap and give it sort of the player pool is the same as it is, and you just increase everybody's salary, then the product gets no better.
Yeah.
So you're just paying squad players a bit more money, and then your marquee players a bit more money. Then you're upping your salary cap without adding quality. So
Yeah.
And the other one with it is, I think some of it should be used for youth development, to make sure we can try and keep our best young players. Because we've spoken about you and Erwin before on here, Dan. And when does he go to the NRL, if you like? With his big rap from Andrew Johns, particularly, who's worked with him in Australia, from the Warrington club. And I think we need to try and keep our best players for as long as possible. No doubt he's got the ability to go and play in the NRL, and Andrew Johns sees that, and everybody sees that the way he's playing as an 18-year-old over here. But we should try and not wish our best players away.
I think back up to that question, 2 parts. Obviously, when you convert the 11.75 Aussie million at the moment, I think it works out at about 8 million British pounds. I think it's around that figure. So 8 million to 2.1 million, massive gap. If we was to up it, taking away the current squad and the junior players, we would be able to compete more to entice better crop of player over from Australia, if you know what I mean. We'd be able to obviously compete with that. Would you see it from that angle, or are you just looking at it from strictly from the talent you've got over here now?
No, I think you see it from that angle. I think when I did play in the early 2000s, the exchange rate from dollar to pound was $3 to the pound. So everybody that came on or over here was on triple money, if you like.
Yeah.
So that's why we got such quality players over here.
Yeah.
They were paid a hell of a lot of money. Were probably put into offshore accounts and taken back home ×3. So yeah, it's interesting. The salary cap over here. I do believe there needs to be stipulations on it, as I said. But you know, if you do get better quality overseas players, then it improves your competition, but it improves the British players as well.
Yeah,
I get sick of people saying to me, you know, we just get Aussies over here and they're taking our British players spots in our squads.
Yeah.
Well, grow up and try and be better than them. If you're better than them, then they won't be bringing them to take your spot. So take it as a challenge and tell them that you're going to be better than them. So, you know, young players over here want everything given and fed to them. And I think we forget that if you're good enough, then they won't bring anybody over.
Very true. Next question was from Steve Clark 8944. If the salary cap was anywhere near effective, Super League clubs wouldn't be operating at such huge losses. Could you explain how and why this is happening?
Yeah, it's difficult because I think every team operates at a loss. You know, the sport doesn't generate enough income for people not to put their hand in the pockets, and to the tune of millions, I guess, the owners of clubs that have been there a long time. So you know, Emma McManus and Ken Davey and Neil Hudgell and Simon Moran. So I don't think they care. It's a loss. They just love their clubs, don't they? So it's interesting. We need to generate more income into the game. How we do that, I think we need players to be at the forefront of that, Dan. And sometimes clubs refuse you access to players, and you know, we if we can get players to be at the forefront of the game and get them on podcasts and get them on the TV. You know, nobody wants to hear from anybody but the top players. So, you know, if you can get them players at the forefront of the game, then I think you generate more income. And I think that's what the NRL Super League deal is, what we need from that in terms of, you know, maybe not a financial, but we need help to try and get the players out there and to increase eyes on the sport.
Yeah, basically building them as a mega profile.
A brand.
So, a brand. Yeah, that's what you need, isn't it? And obviously we've seen how difficult some clubs can be when we've tried to get access to players through us doing it. So, I agree with that. But we've got one final question in Question Cookie this week. Your favourite section. I know you like this one, Paul. Rate the following overseas Super League head coaches in order. Daniel Anderson, Willie Peters, Tony Smith, Michael Maguire.
Oh, all 4 Premiership winners, Super League winners, Challenge Cup winners.
Yeah.
I think Tony Smith was probably the number one there because of how long he was in Super League. Yeah. And the way that he and I know he took over from a really good team at Leeds and brought them mega success. So I go with Tony Smith. Daniel Anderson second. Who's the third one? Willie Peters.
Willie Peters and Michael Maguire.
I think Willie Peters and then Madge. I think to win all 4 is a huge feat. Huge feat. The Saints teams that Daniel had were mega teams as well. Still, in my opinion, the best teams of the Super League era. Saints 2006, particularly, where they lost 4 games by 1, 2, 3, and 4 points.
Yeah, incredible.
So they were an incredible team.
I've also got the win percentage of each as well. So Daniel Anderson, 80% win ratio.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
No. Willie Peters, before last week, 72%. Tony Smith, 61%, but there's a reason for that, which I'll give you in a second.
He had Huddersfield, didn't he?
Yeah, and Michael Maguire, 76%, which was obviously quite high, but Michael Maguire only managed 70 games over it.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years, wasn't it?
Yeah. Tony Smith, 630 games coached over here. Absolute mega coach. And he doesn't get enough credit, I don't think. No,
he doesn't.
And And his stint at Warrington as well.
It's funny because I'm friends with Tony. I've often spoken to him and said, I wish I had a coach like him.
Yeah.
Who was on me all the time, on you. So, so you had to behave off the field because, I think I wasted too much time by not behaving. So, when you have somebody like him, I say it's the same to John Sharp. John Sharp was a great coach for me as well. So, and I only worked with John at the end of my career. So, but he knew, the management of people, particularly Tony, was impressive.
Well, that wraps it up for this week's question, Cookie. Remember to like and subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section below, and the best ones will be selected for next week's episode. So we're now going to move on to the NRL predictions. This week's NRL predictions, then, new segment. Me and Paul thought we'd trial it. We'll go straight into the first game, which is obviously happening now. It'll probably be finished by the time we've recorded. But the first game is the Brisbane Broncos, Melbourne Storm, 10:50 a.m. UK time kickoff. There's a funny one in this one because they're trialing a new rule, new kickoff rule, which we'll go into it. It's obviously the news of Adam Reynolds as well. He's not playing. Who are you fancying in this one? 'Cause it's a bit of a dead rubber, but there's still a bit of bad blood between the Broncos and the Storm.
Yeah, well, I didn't fancy the Broncos last week at Raiders, and they got a result. Melbourne have been very much indifferent. I think they missed the playoffs for the first time in a hell of a long time under Craig Bellamy. So I fancied the Broncos to get a job done, and I know they've had some upheaval with Reynolds not playing again for the Broncos, but they got a job done last week, and I just fancy him to get a job done again.
Yeah, I've gone against you this week. I've backed the Storm. Ben Hunt does start for the Broncos in the 7 shirt. Ben Tolty's back, but he's only named in the reserves. Young, Hayes, Perham retains the number 1, obviously, because we know Reece Walsh is out injured. Yeah. But the Storm do welcome back Jerome Hughes, who's been missing for 3 games through a hamstring injury. So that is a massive in for the Storm, isn't it? Jerome Hughes coming back.
Yeah, it is. They've missed a number of spine players, haven't they? With Munster out at one point and Grant as well. So they could do with Jerome and other players back. Obviously, Will Warbrick with his Achilles. So the Storm are always tough at home as well. I fancied them to the Panthers last week to get that hoodoo off their back. Yeah. But we'll see what happens in the game.
We will. So you're going Broncos, I'm going Storm on the first one. You happy with that?
Yeah. Over the moon.
Well, that's just because we've just seen the score.
I should have changed.
Yeah, you should have changed. We'll go straight into the next game. The first one of 2 on Friday. The Manly Seagulls, they take on the St. George Dragons. Manly currently in 10th place. Dragons obviously propping the table up. Manly did snap a 6-game losing streak last week with a 42-22 away win at the Knights, which was out of nowhere. Yeah. Kohler's out, Tolu Kohler, but Josh Felady starts in the centre after scoring a hat-trick last week. I'm fancying the Seagulls in this one. Where are you at with it?
Yeah, me too. I think it was important that they snapped that losing streak as soon as possible. Did that last week with a magnificent win at the Knights, the high-flying Knights as well. Yeah. So I don't think we saw that one come in. And St. George, very indifferent, but they started playing some better football and finding some wins. So it should be a close game, but I fancy the Seagulls like you.
It should be, and there's a massive out for the Dragons as well. Jacob Liddell, the hooker, he's been ruled out through a calf injury, which means Damien Cook will start at hooker. The Dragons have won 2 out the last 3 games, one of them being against the West Tigers. But they did beat Cronulla Sharks. But then obviously the big loss against the Bulldogs last week, 44-14. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I am fancying Manly in this one. That's the 9 o'clock kickoff on Friday morning. Following that is an absolute massive game. Second place Panthers take on the playoff chasing Canterbury Bulldogs. 11 a.m. kickoff UK time. Where are you at with the Panthers and Bulldogs?
I think the Panthers are just travelling along really nicely. The Premiership winners on
Yeah,
multiple occasions. They know how to win big games. It's got an interesting sideshow with Seraldo back up against Cleary.
yeah.
And the master and apprentice, if you like. And I think a Panthers win, and I'll go with the Panthers. It puts to bed the chances for the Dogs to make the 8. So there's a sideshow with that.
Yeah, and we have to remember as well, earlier in the season, the Bulldogs were the first team to beat the Panthers after on that massive run. But the Bulldogs, it does look like stuff is stacking against them, because even COVID caused an outbreak this week, and 10 of the players were obviously home from training and isolating. But Enari Tuala does return on the wing after a knee injury. Jack Underhill's been named on the 6-man bench. I'm the same as you, though. I just can't. It's hard to back against the Panthers, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is hard. But yeah, I've gone for the Panthers again in this one. The first of 3 on Saturday, Titans v Rabbitohs, 6 a.m. Titans obviously on a 4-game losing streak. They're having a bad end to the season. Bunnies have won 2 out the last 3 against the Dogs and the Eels, but a crushing 45-26 loss against the Warriors last week. You liking the Rabbitohs in this one?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's not a disgrace losing to the top of the table Warriors by any stretch, is it? So,
no.
The way that they're travelling, and they obviously took over at the top of the table last week. So, yeah, I like the Rabbitohs in this one. I think Gold Coast are looking for the end of the season in 2027. So,
yeah,
I think the Bunnies get it done.
Latrell returns. Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
He's back on the bench after 12 games out. It's a lot of football to miss, that is. But the biggest news in this one is Jai Arrow's in the starting lineup. He's going to make his 99th appearance. Obviously, the NRL have put in place a special rule where he can get obviously interchanged off straight away, which won't obviously take an interchange away from the Rabbitohs. And then in the final game, he'll make his 100th appearance. I think that'll be an emotional one, because obviously he's played for both of these clubs, hasn't he, Jai Arrow?
It has, and it's another reason for the Rabbitohs to be up for it, and with Jai there, it's a magnificent gesture from the NRL, rightly so. We certainly wish Jai all the very best with what difficult fight he's fighting. It's a horrible disease. We've lost Rob Burrow to it. God bless him, and there's plenty of other people that fight the terrible disease of MND. So, well done, the NRL, and good luck to Jai.
Agreed. Finish on a positive note on that one then. You're going for Rabbitohs?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going for Rabbitohs as well. Sorry, Titans. Middle game on Saturday, probably the biggest game of the round. 3rd place Roosters take on the 4th place Dolphins. For me, it is the biggest game of the round. Roosters come into the back of this one, off the shock of the season. 25-24 loss against the West Tigers last week. Incredible performance by the Tigers, but a disaster for the Roosters. Red Hot Dolphins have won their last 5 games. I just can't. I can't see past the Dolphins in this one. Teddy is back. James Tedesco's back at fullback. Where are you at with the Roosters and Dolphins?
Yeah, I think that's the big one for me with Teddy back. I fancy the Roosters. You never want to play a team that have been top of it, or have been nigh on the top of the table most of the year. When Roosters overtook them, I think they dropped to 3rd last week after their loss. So they need a result. It's a huge game. It's a huge game for both clubs, and it's a chance to throw one over the other team, if you like, heading into the playoffs with a win. So I fancy the Roosters to get the job done off the back of a loss.
Yeah, I'm going against you. I just feel the Dolphins at the moment. I understand what you mentioned about in recent weeks about them conceding points, but they did get the 22-0, which was important against the Manly Sea Eagles. And I think they conceded 16 points last week, I think it was, in the victory. But I can't see past the Dolphins. They're like my outside bet to make the grand final. And I know it's quite difficult if they weren't to finish in the top 4, which I think they will. But if they were to finish outside the top 4, it's obviously a much more difficult route to get to the grand final. But I can't see past them. I think that they do the Roosters in this one. I'm going against you.
I think you're right, though. It's a game around this one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I look forward to watching.
100%. The final game on Super Saturday is the 8th place Cowboys taking on the West Tigers, who are slumped down in 14th spot. Where are you at with the Cowboys?
Well, if they wanted an opportunity to cement a place in the 8 against a team which are very much indifferent in West Tigers, off the back of what was a huge upset last week against the Roosters, but I fancy that the Cowboys will get it done.
Yeah.
I don't think Wests have got 2 consecutive consistent performances in them.
No.
Or at least history this year tells us that. So I fancy if you offered the Cowboys a game to cement your place in the 8, if the Dogs get beat the day before, then you'll know.
Yeah, I agree. I do give the Cowboys a bit of leeway. They are coming in off the bye in this one, so they will be a lot fresher. They've been a bit patchy. I think they've won 1 in the last 3 games, but they're only 2 points in front of the Bulldogs. Like you said, if the Bulldogs were to get a result against the Panthers by some miracle, that would just heap a lot of pressure on the Cowboys, wouldn't it?
But as I said, if you offered that at the beginning of the year to the Cowboys, I guess they'd take it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
You know, if you've got a game against West Tigers to cement your place in the 8, I mean, they should be very much up for the game.
But everyone's going to write the Tigers off in this one.
Yeah, last week. Dan.
Yeah. And they ended up winning against one of the favourites.
It's really unpredictable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Plus, the massive ins for the Cowboys is Tom Dearden and star back rower Jeremiah Nanai are going to be returning to the starting lineup. They're obviously 2 massive returns for the Cowboys. But a big miss for the Tigers is Alex Twell out with concussion. So Alex Seyfarth's going to start at 13. But I'm like yourself. I am going to write the Tigers off again. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, and I think they'll take it into the final round to see how it unfolds. But it could end the Canterbury Bulldogs chasing for the 8. I do think this is how it's going to finish now, in my opinion. But that's the final game on Saturday, which is 10:35 a.m. kickoff. I'm going Cowboys. You sticking with Cowboys?
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
2 games on Sunday then. First one is the early kickoff, if people are getting up for that one. 5 a.m. UK time. New Zealand Warriors, top of the ladder after last week's incredible win. Ended up dropping the goal to actually put them on the top spot by 1 point. They take on the 6th place Newcastle Knights. Where are you with this one?
Well, I wrote that. I went against the Warriors last week stupidly.
Yeah.
I can't see past them. I know Lesniak's out, isn't he? He's broken collarbone. Yeah. He's hoping to get back for playoffs. He's a big miss. He'll be a big miss. Coming out of backfield, he's really strong. But it just seems like no matter who's out for the Warriors, they just find another player from somewhere, and that slots into this system like they've never been away or they've never not been there. So, I'm going to go with the Warriors.
A couple of ins for the Warriors. Obviously, like you just mentioned, then DWZ out with a broken collarbone, who actually scored a try with a broken collarbone last week. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Luke Lely comes in and to start on the wing in his position. T. Maria Martin is back at 7, which means Chanel Harris-Tavita moves back to 5'8", so they've got a bit more continuity in the halves this week. And it's just more bad news for the Knights because Tyson Frizzell and Dom Young are both banned. And Phoenix Crossland, the hooker, is out after having surgery on his knee. So the only good news for the Knights is Dane Gagai returns after a hamstring injury. But I just think, especially, it's hard enough going over to New Zealand with a full squad. Never mind when you're depleted. But I'm with you. I see the Warriors getting the win in this one and retaining top spot. Final game of the round then, 13th place Parramatta Eels take on the top 4 chasing Cronulla Sharks. 7:05 UK time kickoff. Eels have won 2, lost 2 in the last 4 games. They're just such a up and down team this year, the Eels. It's been kind of the story of the season. Sharks beat the Titans 30-22 after a shocks defeat the 2 previous weeks against the Raiders and Dragons. we have both backed the Sharks on this one, but this is the same type of game where the Eels could turn up, couldn't they, and roll the Sharks.
Put 40 on them.
Yeah.
Put 40 on them.
Yeah.
You know, that's how inconsistent that the Eels are, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise you if the Eels got a job done, but you can't look past Cronulla. And
No.
again, if you're talking about trying to make the top 4, these are the games you got to win if you're the Sharks.
Yeah.
You can't have no more shot losses going into a playoff series because their playoff record isn't great anyway in terms of, you know, they get themselves in there and even if they're in the top 4, they can lose 2 games really quickly and they're out of there, the Sharks. So
yeah.
I think this is a big week for them. Their performance is going to be essential. The result will take care of itself after that, but I fancy the Sharks.
Yeah, I do. And to back up what you just said, Dylan Walker and Bailey Simonson, they also make a return from injury, so that's only good news for the Eels. Braden Hamlin-Uele, the only change to Coach Fitzgibbon's team, he's been named on the bench, and Ronaldo Mulitalo will play his 150th game after an amazing game last week against the Titans. What do you think of Mulitalo? He's a bit of a loose cannon, but he's an incredible player.
Yeah, absolutely. Some finisher. Really good out of backfield. So yeah. Important to the Sharks for me. He doesn't probably get the credit he deserves, but congratulations on 150 and another small sideshow to what should be a well up for the game Sharks.
Yeah, agreed. We'll bring the image on screen then. Let's have a quick gander at what the picks are. Broncos and Storm, obviously we've gone different on that one. We've only actually gone different on 2 games this week. The Broncos and Storm and the Roosters and Dolphins. So we've gone. You are leading by a point, luckily.
Yeah, that can change very quickly, Dan. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it can. But yeah, that wraps it up for this week's NRL predictions. We're going to get straight into the Super League predictions. Here we are then, Super League predictions of round 25. First game, Wigan Warriors up against Hull KR on Thursday, 8 o'clock kickoff. Where's your heart lying, or your head lying, should I say, in this one, Paul?
Well, I've seen the squad, so my heart and head says Wigan. I think Willie Peters, and I don't disagree with what Willie's doing here. He's prioritising the next 2 weeks. He could send a full squad to Wigan and still lose the game. So, ironically, the 2 fixtures between the last year's grand finalists have been bomb squads by both teams. So, one before the Challenge Cup final. It'll be interesting to see how some of them young boys get on for Hull KR, because I don't think Willie feels that they're quite ready.
No, I've seen his comments this week. Yeah.
I think they're aimed at me because I've sort of said he's not brought anyone through, and but obviously you've got to have the faith in them. He's thrown them all in for this game, so I think he's prioritising the next 2 weeks afterwards, hoping that Leeds get Saints this weekend anyway. And if they don't, if Saints get Leeds, then I think they still remain behind Hull KR because they've got a huge points difference. There's an extra game in there for them.
I was going to say on this one, Wigan are currently on a 12-game winning streak. They're in incredible form. The last defeat,
you would want to lose one though. And I know that sounds. I was at Leeds the other week for Lee, and I stood outside and I said, if you're going to lose a game, you haven't lost at home all year, and if you're going to lose a game, you don't want it to be a grand final eliminator.
No, that's
so
true.
you're better off getting it out of the way. And lo and behold, Lee went and beat them. So.
Well, that's what I was going to say, that the last defeat was to Hull KR in the reverse fixture, like you just mentioned, and that was when Wigan...
That was a non-event.
Wigan fielded the weak team, didn't they? And, it's... The Robins, obviously, they're going through a little bit of a wobble after a midweek 34-28 defeat to Warrington, and then, obviously, the shock 32-12 defeat at home to Toulouse. Mikey Lewis and Pangai Jr. would have both been missing this game anyway, but he's obviously made many changes. But Liam Farrell and Junior Ensemble still missing for the Warriors. I presume they'll be almost ready.
Yeah, they won't be far off.
He'll be wanting to keep them back, won't he? If like, no disrespect, if you know you're facing, why risk them? If you know you're facing a squad like tonight, so it is probably going to want to write young lads off, but the way it's looking, you're going to put your eggs in the Warriors basket, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Next game, the first of 3 on Friday. Tigers v the Dragons. Castleford Tigers against the Catalans Dragons. Tigers have lost 4 out of their last 5, losing 36-12 away to Saints last week. And the Catalans equally wounded on a 4-game losing streak, which includes their damaging 27-26 loss against Hull FC last week. I mean, where'd you stand on this one? It's an hard one to call. Castleford Tigers,
yeah,
Catalans,
it is
Dragons.
dead rubber. I think the only thing what's swaying me this way is the home ground of Cass. You know, difficult place to go, difficult place to play. Ferocious crowd that's on top of you if they get going. So, I think Cass at home will get it done. I'm not sure where Catalan are at.
No.
You know, I think the coach has re-signed, and they've got some players coming in next year. There's some players that are moving on, but you know, John Cartwright wants to know what other players are doing. Can you let them know as soon as possible? So there's some upheaval in the squad with regards, you know, staying and going. So
yeah,
I just fancy home ground will be the difference.
I am leaning that way. It's just when I looked at the squad and you've got the likes of Mapapalangi, who's been incredible for them this year. I don't think he's playing. You've got Blake Taff, who's long term, Semi Valamai, Daniel McIntosh, Brock Gretchen. There's quite a lot missing, and then you throw in they've got 3 loanees from Lee that have all been named. It's just it seems like a bit of a mismatched squad, but like we've said with Catalans, they're not exactly running smooth at the moment. And Tommy Makinson and Solomon Afartape are missing this week for the Dragons. So yeah, it's like you said. I think it'll be a close game. This, even though it's a dead rubber. I think, and I'm probably leaning. I'm trying to talk myself out of Castleford Tigers, but I do think they might just get over the line. But I think it'll be a close one. The second game on Friday. This is one of the biggest ones of the round as well, isn't it? It's St Helens go up against the Leeds Rhinos. 8:00 kickoff. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because it's kind of do or die for Saints now. Leeds Rhinos are in season best form. Where you at with this one? Give me your prediction.
I fancy Leeds. I think if you offer them, and I'll tell you, don't forget last year's playoff game, Dan.
Yeah, that'll still hurt.
That sticks in Leeds' mind a little bit, I think. The try at the end, which was a miracle, really.
It was. They also welcomed back Jack Bird and Danny Levi into the squad, and Danny Levi's a big in, isn't he? Jared O'Connor's going to be making his 150th appearance as well. But the Saints welcome back Johnny Lomax and David Clemmer, but Jackson Hastings, as we know, he's serving his first of his 3-match ban. He's probably played his last game for Saints, you would imagine, wouldn't you?
Stupidity last week. I don't know what's happened with that. I don't know what's been said, but it's the team needs Jackson on the field because he's second in assists only to Jake Connor with 29, and they're going to miss his creativity, that's for sure. I just fancy that Leeds will get it done. I think if you offered, again, it's like it gets to this stage of the year where, you know, Brad Arthur can just go into the sheds and say to his team, you know, if I offered you this to stay top of the table or win a league leaders shield, you should be biting my arm off here.
Yeah.
And I fancy him to get it done. And I fancy him to get it done convincingly. They just travel along, make 4s into 6s with Jake Connor's boot, which is very trusty. And they score lots of points, Leeds. You know, when they don't look like they played really well. I think Magic Weekend, they didn't look like they was great, and then they end up posting 50 on Bradford. Yeah. It's just like they just keep accumulating points. It was like, you know, when they're hot and they've got momentum, they're really difficult to stop.
Well, it was like last week, wasn't it? They obviously, it stung a bit that they'd lost at home, like you mentioned, to the Leopards, and then they went over to York and put 66 points on them. So they kind of got it out of the system, didn't they? It's a tough one because, like what I mentioned before about Kevin Walters' comments, that'll be in a lot of players' heads, and they'll know they've got to perform in these last 2 or 3 fixtures, and it's a do or die for Saints. But I'm sitting on the fence in this one. I can't call it because Leeds have been so good this year, and they're still top of the table, even though Wigan's been on a 12-game run. Yeah. It shows you how good of a start of the season Leeds have had. I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go Saints win.
Your
We'll
heart's
see.
rolled your head there, hasn't it?
I think it might have, yeah. But we shall see. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a Saints win.
Yeah, I thought that might be coming.
Hey, we've got your team coming up, so you don't be like that. We'll go on to the next game, the third and final game on Friday. Huddersfield Giants take on the Lee Leopards. This is a tricky one as well for Lee Leopards because Huddersfield playing well over the last month, and that second half comeback as well against Warrington last week. They did very well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. I like what Jim Lenahan said this week, where he's fired a shot to Lee and Hull KR that go there in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
His team are playing better. I thought it was really good early at Warrington last week. I was at the game. Right in the game. If George Williams doesn't play, Warrington don't win.
Yeah, I'd agree.
He's been magnificent for Warrington since he come back from his long-term injury. But I like what Jim Lenahan's team are doing. They're becoming more difficult to beat, and I like Lee in the game, though. I think if you offer again, it's like Lee have got so much to play for. I know Jim Lenahan's fired that shot, but again, if you Adrian Lamb, you go in there and you say, "Listen, we've got to get this result. It keeps us in the top four, and
Yeah.
we can chase Warrington down into third." So, I fancy Lee to get it done.
Yeah, Jack Ashworth obviously on loan there. He's been named in the squad, but the Leopards are missing obviously some key personnel. Tessie Neu, Bailey Hodgson, Frankie Alton, Jack Hughes. Some of them suspensions, some of them's injuries. But you would imagine, wouldn't you, on paper, the Leopards have got enough, or should have enough to get over them. But you just don't know because the Giants at the moment, they're just going to cause upsets left, right, and centre. I'm going to go against you again. I'm going to go for a shock. I'm going to go for the Giants win, and I feel if that happens, it will just throw a spanner in the works because it'll bring all three teams back into the mix for the sixth potential spot. Maybe I'm hoping, I don't know. But yeah, I'm going for a Giants win in that one because I just think apart from the Warrington result, they won 4 out the previous 4 results, and it wasn't any disgrace last week against Warrington. They played very well. They just obviously missed the mark a little bit, and Warrington shown why they're Premiership contenders this year. We'll go on to the first of 3 on Saturday. Trinity versus Knights. York Knights take on Wakefield Trinity. You have to imagine that Wakefield get their house in order here and get back to winning ways, don't they? Because
the performance last week was decent from
it was,
Wakefield,
yeah,
defeat.
And to be fair to them as well, the last 3 games that they've lost, they have played against Wigan, Saints, and Leeds. So it's not like they've played teams like at the foot of the table. So it's no shame, and they've obviously struggling with injuries as well, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I think the Saints' loss was damaging with the end result of it. I don't think it was a disgrace to lead 77 minutes before Hankinson scores and Jake Connor kicks a goal.
No.
And last weekend, I said it last weekend, very similar to when Lee went to Leeds, is if they go to Wigan and play really well, the bonus will be to get the win. But they've got to find a performance because the performance against St Helens wasn't good enough. So I thought they performed okay last week. I thought in defeat, as I said, so... York off somewhat of a hiding will be much better. It's not too often York concede that many points. I think only Wigan and Leeds have put so many points on them. So I fancy Wakefield to get back to winning ways.
For any chance for the Knights in this one, their pack has to stand up, doesn't it? Because Trinity have got one of the best packs, if not the best pack in the league at the moment. But I can't see past Wakefield in this one, especially with the arrivals of Emre Guler and Zach Lipowicz. I thought Emre Gould had played quite well against Wigan last week for his first, considering I don't even know if he had a training session because he only landed 2 days before, didn't he? But yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm going for Wakefield in this one. Middle game, we're talking about head and heart. Middle game on this one of Saturday is Hull FC take on Warrington Wolves. Give me your initial thoughts.
Well, maybe everything says it should be Warrington with the form that they're in.
Yeah.
The only thing that worries me, and I'm going to choose Hull FC, is it's the 4th game in the 15 days. It's the game after the Easter weekend period, if you like.
Yeah.
So I thought they looked really leggy in the last 15 against Huddersfield. And that is what the midweek game's done to Sam's team, and why it is a little bit unfair. But, they wasn't in the World Club Challenge. Hull KR was, and they was just a team that was picked to play against them in round 2 when they faced Brisbane. So they've done it tough. They've got a number of players that are injured, coming back from injury. I just fancy that Hull KR off a 1 point win. Hull FC, sorry, off a 1 point win in France. Coming back home, I think they do a performance at home after a shock loss to Castleford, or a loss to Castleford, maybe not a shock. But I just fancy Warrington to drop one, with how difficult the period's been for them over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, like you said, the Hull FC, the squad's going to be on a massive high, aren't they? Especially after the away victory over in France, like you say. Wolves are coming into this one on a 5-game winning streak, beating York, Hull KR and Huddersfield in the space of 10 days. Zach Hardacre likely to still be missing through a calf injury. Was it Romano, I think it was, that started in the centres last week?
Romano.
I quite like him.
He was a shining light for them earlier on in the season before he got injured.
Yeah,
I thought he was probably showing some decent form in a team that wasn't travelling too well. So he's been a welcome return for Hull FC.
He has. A big miss for Warrington. Obviously, we know he's going to miss the rest of the season now with a fractured leg. Is Toff Sipley. He's huge. He's had some monstrous performances this season for the Wire, but he's missing. We're unsure whether Ewan Irwin. I've not seen the squad this morning. I don't know if Ewan Irwin's back or not.
I'm not sure, but yeah, it seems like a nasty one where he can't get to grips and get bearing weight on his foot, can he?
Yeah, because
with the challenge from Lewis. So
I
don't think that's so much of an issue for them. But the Toff Sipley one's a massive loss.
It's huge
because he brings so much punch from the bench for Sam. They don't have another player that's got that punch.
No.
What they are is a confident group. I spent some time with a few of their players and Stefan Ratchford after the Bradford game in the clubhouse there. So I think they fancy it. They feel that they can get anybody on their day, and they've just got to perform. So everything says it probably should be Warrington. The only thing that's sending me to Hull FC is it's 4 games in 15 days.
Yeah, I understand that. The last bit on that, Josh Thewlis is supposed to be potentially making a return from a hamstring injury, so it'll be really good to get him back in the side. I'm sat on the fence with it a little bit. I take all the points on board, but I feel with Warrington wanting to chase down that top 2, I feel like they're not going to make any mistakes here. I see the Warrington Wolves getting the result. I'm going to go against you again. We're quite opposite this week.
No, I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
That takes us nicely into the final game. This is a bit of a dead rubber, but we'll go through it. Toulouse taking on the bottom place Bradford Bulls. Although we're speaking about Toulouse in a bad light, they got an impressive performance last week against Hull KR, doing Saints a massive favour. I can't see anything other than a Toulouse win, though. Bradford travelling over there with a very depleted squad. And I also seen this week that Logan Lewis is banned this week. Ethan Ryan's out with a broken thumb. That's already adding to the, 13, 14 players that are already missing. It's awful what's going on over there. Are you with me on that one, Toulouse?
Yeah, I fancy Toulouse. It's difficult to go to France best of times. They're in decent form. Bradford are just... I think Bradford need the end of 2026 quickly to get rest and recuperated for pre-season. Obviously, going to be some major changes. I think Kurt Haggerty's done a magnificent job with a squad put together inside 8 weeks or so. I had 1 or 2 boos from the Bradford faithful last week when they lost heavily. Be careful what you wish for, because you haven't been in the Super League for 20 plus years, however many years.
It was always going to be tough, and look at some of the players that they've signed. I even seen this morning, which I've not actually put it in because there's no confirmation of it, but it's been reported that Sean O'Sullivan, current halfback at the Canterbury Bulldogs, is linked to going over there. He's in talks with them, and I think if you got someone like Sean O'Sullivan with Nick Arima in the halves, then you've already brought the likes of Bentley and Bateman over. I think you're going in the right direction. It's a process, isn't it? You never... Obviously, they're going to look at York and Toulouse, who obviously came in at the same time as them, and they're doing slightly better, but they haven't had the same amount of injuries. So I agree with you. I think he's done a good job with the facilities and the actual basically available to him. And
the pitch is a big one for him, Dan, because it means it's more physical every fortnight. Hence, and I don't know whether that's contributed to some of their injuries. I don't know what their injury ratio is at home or away, but it's really difficult to play on Bradford's field. I think Kurt Haggett's recruitment will benefit a bigger field. That you'll see that there's a distinct style of player that he wants to bring in, and you'll see that, I think, with his recruitment based on how he wants and sees the game played. It can't be easy to coach a team like Bradford on Bradford's field, because ultimately you pack it big because you don't want anybody going through the middle of you because you've got less space to defend. So it'll be interesting to see what recruitment they're doing. If Sullivan does come over with Nicarima in the halves, then that's a dynamite pairing.
Massive. Right, so just bring up the predictions table then. Quick glance through of our final selections of mine and Paul's. Both in agreement on some, both against each other on some, especially the Saints and Leeds one. In closing then, Paul, as always, I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
One NRL, one Super League. We'll go with the first. 2 regular season rounds to go in the NRL. Who clinches the NRL minor premiership?
Warriors.
Yes. Nice choice. I like it. I've converted you. You're on the Roosters all over the Roosters.
I went with. I still think Roosters could win the grand final. I'm not going to change my prediction there.
Yeah. You're clinging on, aren't you?
Yeah,
I'm telling you, the Warriors, they got it this year. The final one then to round up the episode. Super League, 3 rounds to go. Do Hull KR survive the scare from St. Helens for the 6th spot?
Yeah, because they'll get hammered by Leeds this week.
You're supposed to be a bit more analytic than that. You can't just have a go because it's my. I can't even admit.
The other thing, Dan, is I don't think Saints win next week.
No, I was just going to say
Saints. They've got some tough games.
Yes,
the last 2 are tough as well. So
yeah, Saints have got Rhinos at home, Leopards away, Hull KR at home. Obviously, no disrespect to the Giants, but that Hull KR is going to target that game, aren't they? Too.
Yeah, that's why they're sending the squad. They're sending obviously Wigan tonight, isn't it? So
I see, but I mean, I agreed with you a few weeks ago. It's just only for Hull KR having a total meltdown over the past few weeks.
Yeah,
I've always thought that they must have knew in the back of their mind that we've got enough done. But yeah, Saints is the table doesn't lie. They are where they are for a reason, and I do think Kevin Walters has got a job on his hands. It's not going to be easy to turn that squad around in a year. But yeah, that wraps it up for this week. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Please remember to like and subscribe. Drop your comments down below for me and Paul to read and respond to. But yeah, until next week, we both thank you and see you again.